Hi, everyone. This is Raina Creel with Purpose and Passion. I'm excited today because I have an amazing woman from the city of Inglewood. You guys already know how I feel about empowering, educating, and teaching awareness. Today, we have Bernadette Rodriguez from Madeira Beauty Group. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Raina, for having me.
Of
I'm really, really
course.
excited to be here.
Yes, well, I'm grateful for Lex Media because I have a platform to share with the viewers of all the beautiful guests and amazing guests that I bring to the table. So I'm really excited. So please take our viewers down memory lane. Like, where were you born and raised? How was your childhood?
Okay. So, I am a real LA native. I have been here. I was born in Santa Monica and I was raised on the west side of LA. Actually, I take a lot of pride in that. My family, on my mom's side of the family, they have been in West Los Angeles for 7 generations now, almost 8 generations.
Wow.
Yeah, our family migrated here in the early 1900s, and we've been in Los Angeles ever since. So this is my home, and I'm really trying hard to dig my heels in and stay. I can't imagine
Yes.
myself anywhere else. But so I grew up on the west side, and I moved to the city of Inglewood 16 years ago. And I love Inglewood. Like, I love everything about Inglewood. I
Yes.
grew up in Culver City. I lived kind of all over the place, but my grandma lived in
Yeah.
Culver City. So that was our hub. So I grew up and I had a lot of my experiences there, all over. But Inglewood is just it's what LA was. It's what
Mm-hmm.
LA was
Yes.
15 years ago. And so I really love the diversity, in the city. I'm loving seeing it grow.
Yes.
But I also want to see it protected, and that's why I'm so happy that you're running for mayor because it really does need protection. I mean,
Yes.
growing up in LA and watching our cities change and
Yes.
evolve, there's good with that.
Yes, it
There's
is.
always good with that.
Yes.
But then there comes a point where the citizens in the city aren't always the first priority.
Exactly.
And I'm like, no, I think like that's what makes our city so great. And
Yes.
so we kind of need to try to maintain that. And so even though what I do, cosmetic tattooing, all of that has been very prominent in more affluent communities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I take a lot of pride in bringing it to Inglewood.
Yes.
When I went through the process with the city of Inglewood of opening my business, I found out that I was the only cosmetic tattooing facility and academy teaching other people this
Yes.
service in the city. And so instead of going to Brentwood or Culver City or Santa Monica where this service is already saturating the market, I really wanted to bring it to my home. and
Yes.
and and also because if it's at home and I'm not in a very, very expensive, affluent neighborhood, I can
Mm-hmm.
bring the service to my own people, the people
Yes.
in my community. And our people need to be able to go into our own neighborhoods and see women like ourselves trying to elevate the community. So
Yes.
I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. LA is my home. I'm not
Yes.
going
Yes. Yes.
anywhere. I love it here. And I'm going to do my best to just try to, elevate my community. And I feel like, but teaching, students, that's, what I do, and opening the door for them to really be able to elevate their lives and propel them. It,
Yes.
it, 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 it makes me happy to do that. And I hope that with also that I can instill in them staying in their own communities and building their business in
Yes.
their
And
own
giving back.
communities, not going
Mm-hmm.
out into other communities and paying our taxes and all that other stuff
Yes.
to a city that, not to say that, some other cities, these more affluent ones don't need us, because they need,
People of
black and
color.
brown
Yes.
people,
Uh-huh. Yes. Of course.
opening businesses in their community. But we need to see it in our own community. If we want to see change in our own community, we need to be the change first. And
Yes.
so I have to stay. I have to stay at home. I have to stay in Inglewood.
Yes.
Um, and it's my home. So why wouldn't I?
Yes. I love
Why
that. I
wouldn't
love
I?
that. So, kind of going a little bit back, what elementary school did you go to? What junior high? What they call it middle
Yeah,
school
yeah,
now?
middle
And
school.
what high school did you go to?
So I went to El Rincon Elementary, which
By Holy Cross Cemetery?
No, yeah, I went to that one, and in the early '80s, that was a predominant. I mean, it's still in Culver City, even though it's not a, it's it's a pretty multicultural district. El Rincon has predominantly had the higher amount of Black children in it because we've always had children from Fox Hills, Crenshaw area come into that area. So I'm very blessed that I got to grow up, even though a lot of the kids that I did grow up in that particular school, we had a lot of troubled kids, but the 80s were a different time,
Yes,
the
definitely.
80s was a different time.
The 80s and the 90s.
We were free. We were latchkey, all that stuff. But I'm grateful for that because it made me who I am today. Growing up around people, it is hard looking back, because I've lost a lot of friends. I've people to the life, what I mean? And so I'm grateful to also be a part of it because we've had a lot of really talented people come out of my elementary school. You know what I mean? There's a lot of really talented people. A friend of mine, I don't want to plug people, but my friend D, his Instagram is La Cienega. We grew up together. We went to elementary and middle school, high school together. He's really doing big things in the community.
So what is he doing?
He's a photographer.
Okay.
And he really does document LA culture and he sticks to it. That's what his thing is. And so even though, like I said, we grew up in hard times and around kids with hard, lives, but a lot of beauty comes out of that and a lot of talent comes out of that and hopefully a lot of pride. Yes. And so I went to El Rincon. Great. I loved it. Middle school, Culver Middle and Culver City High School. So those bonds I have with those people, they're real and they're consistent. And I'm still very, very close with the girls I played ball with in high school or people I grew up with since elementary. I literally just did a lady's eyebrows. She was a model for me so my students could observe. And she was a girl I went to school with since kindergarten. And my students were like, what? They were mind blown. You know what I mean? That I'm still in contact with somebody for 35 years. 35 plus years older age myself, but 35 plus
you still
years.
look good, girl.
Thank you.
Still
You
look
too.
good.
But yeah, so I did grow up in the area. I lived all over though, because I had younger parents and they were trying to root themselves during my childhood. Yes. And so we lived all over LA. We lived in Palms. We lived in Mar Vista. We lived in I don't even know what they call it anymore.
We call it the West Side.
The West Side, but I also lived near like the Crenshaw, Slauson area too as a kid. So I'm so grateful to be from here.
Yeah,
and it's
of course.
Like,
you have a lot of pride.
Don't you feel like a little gem sometimes? When people you're like, oh, you're from LA, and you're like, yeah, like from LA, and you're like, oh yeah, I was born here. My parents were born here. My grandma was born here. My great grandma. So there's a lot of pride and I'm learning as an adult to take much more pride in my local government.
Yes.
Even though I feel like, we've kind of lost a little grip, with our governments, not necessarily.
Yes,
but
I hear you. In general. Yes, in general.
So, I do feel like there is a lot of power. If we want to see change, we want to see it in our communities first. So I really think it's important to get involved in your city, your city's government, get to know the people
because you're living in there. And that's why it's important. I always tell people, I vote for a president, but the president can affect the whole world. But when you really look at the reality, the mayor affects our city. Yeah. So we can't worry about the world because we have to worry about where we're at. So I always tell people it's important to focus on your own city. I have people that live in Inglewood that are more focused on the LA race than they are on the Inglewood race. Yeah. And so, it's important. Like, for example, this Monday, I went to my first Inglewood mayoral and council district, forum. And, I always tell people, it could be intimidating when you're in a room full of African American and you're the only brown person there representing to run for office. Yeah. But at the same time, I knew that I just had to share my story because I always tell people you don't vote for somebody based on their color. You vote on the person, the individual, based on what they can bring to the table. What is their story? Is it powerful enough? Yeah. And so some people can sit there and say, they see the community not very happy, so I'm gonna run for office. Well, that's not a strong why. Somebody can fabricate and say they had a dream, and it's not strong enough. You have to have a strong why in order to run for office. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To hit people,
it's a big job.
It
And
is.
it's a huge commitment.
It is.
And so I think it's admirable that you're doing
Yes.
it, and you're coming from a place where clearly there are no other ulterior motives.
Yes.
And I think that that's beautiful. You just want to see the community change, and you still have little
Yes.
kids, and I have my kids are still younger, but they're
How old
they're
are they?
older. There's my son will be 17 on Saturday, and my daughter's 14. So they are
Yes,
they're still a part of the
teenagers.
community,
Yes.
but also they're not little, and our community's changing.
Yes.
And there's a lot of younger families moving in, and so
Yes.
they have little kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it is, we want to see our place be a safe place. And I love that. I feel like genuinely you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Not like you eventually want to become this, or you eventually want to become that.
It was
It's
already imprinted as a teenager.
You're like, no, this is what I'm here to do. And the time will come, and it's great that this is your time. And I'm super excited.
And talking about time, I want to touch up, because I want you to share your experience when you became a business owner, and the trials and tribulations you experienced as a woman starting a business in Inglewood. Where were the ups and downs? Because I want you to share this, because at the end of the day, whether whatever happens after November 8th, it needs to be expressed. It needs to be shared, because it's unacceptable on the things that we talked about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want you to talk about that, because it's also educating the other viewers of this could happen.
Yeah.
So if you hear my story, then you're able to learn from trial and error from me.
Yeah.
So I want you to explain,
Yeah.
your trials and tribulations, and the pros and the cons of you becoming a business owner.
Okay. So, funny, I've came from education. I was a teacher for 24 years before. So business, clearly, I'm a savvy woman, but I know nothing about business, right?
But you do now.
I do now. I learned. Honestly, ignorance is bliss. Because I was just like, I just do a little this, and I just fill this out, and I just send this fee, and I'm good. And it was not that. You know, it is a lot. It takes a lot more. But I do believe that if we want to see, the people that live in our community feel empowered and supported in opening business in our own community, we need to have a better system, within.
Yes, within the city of Inglewood.
Within the city of Inglewood.
Yes.
Because we are a growing city. I mean, we are immensely growing.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got a lot of big businesses, and we've got a lot of small businesses wanting a piece of the pie. Right?
Yes.
And of course we do. You know what I mean? Inglewood it's an evolving city, and it's changing.
And Inglewood wins when there's more small businesses.
Exactly.
People forget that. People forget that.
Yeah. And so as a small business owner, I had to go through the process. I'm opening technically what is a tattoo parlor.
Yes.
So that requires a special use permit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the health department's involved, and there's a lot more, pieces that need to come together. So I had to apply for a special use permit. I mean, it was COVID. Okay, I understand things are slow, but you do have to give a whole lump sum of money. Submit application. It was a little confusing. I mean, I was sent like this long application when a friend of mine, who luckily is a planner with the city of LA, helped me go through it. And she was like, I don't know why they sent all of this. You just need these 3 papers.
Wow.
So as a small business owner, or somebody who's brand new, you might just be like, never mind, right? Or we end up, giving somebody else money to do all that for us.
Yes.
Where I'm kind of not that kind of person. I want to
yes.
first go around, let me figure it out myself, so that way I can use that information in the future, right?
To help the next person.
To help the next person, exactly. My students, those who want to open their own place when the time comes, right? But it was a very lengthy process. Um, I, am very, very blessed that the woman who owns my building, was very patient with me.
Wow.
You know what
That's
I mean?
awesome.
She's amazing, and she's been wonderful to me, and she wants to see me win, and I just love her, and
Yes.
and then paying your money every month to another woman of color is like just another win.
Yes, yes, of course, because you guys are helping each other together.
And
Mhm.
she's wonderful, and she's also, from here and raised here.
Yes.
And so I like keeping my money tight. You know what
Yes,
I mean?
yes.
I like knowing who I'm giving my money and what they're
Of
doing.
course, yes.
But it was a very lengthy process. It could have swallowed my business, in all honesty, going through that process, spending all my money. Had the owner of the building say, "No, Bernadette, you signed a lease for this property this many months ago, and
Yes.
it's been 8 months, and my permit's still not processed, and I've been paying rent for 8 months." That could have swallowed me.
Yes.
And so, again, luckily, my landlord was like, "You know what? We're going to make this work. I know that you're going through the process and you're trying
Yes.
to do right by, the city and yourself and your business and me. So I'm going to be patient." But it was rough. It was rough. It
Yeah.
took a long time, and it was, a lot of like answered messages that I had to kind of answer myself with a quick email. Would have been so grateful. I would have been like, you know what I mean?
Yes,
like,
yes,
oh my
yes.
God, thank you. Now I can speed my process
Yeah.
up.
Proceed to the next step.
And I think, shortening that time for the city's response in, this,
Yes.
or creating some sort of liaison that works with
Yes.
small businesses and,
I love
and
that.
people's predominantly in the community.
Yes.
Just a liaison that you could reach out to.
Specifically for that department.
Yes.
Oh my God.
My
That's amazing.
planner was wonderful. Don't get me wrong, but I'm sure she was overwhelmed. And I'm sure she's, look at how many businesses went into SoFi.
Yes.
They got to process all of
Oh,
that.
fast though.
Exactly.
But their process was super fast.
Which is why a liaison would be wonderful.
And a liaison would be wonderful too, because the reality is you deserve the same resources as the Clippers and the Rams and the Forum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to share your story, because it's powerful. And so I remember you saying that you never got that permit for that year.
Oh, yeah, no, we're still waiting on it. I got a message the other day that my 2022 permit will be coming in November.
Yes. We're in November.
2023.
We're almost in November.
Yeah, so I obviously, they're processed in the office and fees have been, taken, but I've never received a physical one yet.
Yes.
I received a message that it's coming. But
you haven't received the physical.
I mean, obviously, I paid for it.
Yes, yes.
But I haven't had a physical one in the office.
And that's the problem for me. Like, you should be able to have a physical one.
Yeah.
Or at least a letter. Or
even go
exactly.
to the health department and say, "Please renew my permit." They ask you for your new license.
Yes.
And so that could hold somebody up.
Yes. Well, I tell you one thing. When I get in the office, I will create a liaison for the small business department. I will also have a small business advisory board, and I would love for you to sit on that advisory board, because it's important for us to do town hall meetings and workshops with people like yourself that have experience that can help the next person. And even though the liaison will be the right person, but they can reach out to the 12 people that God is going to show me that needs to be a part of that advisory board.
Yeah.
So if they ever feel lost, they can go to everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because you need a tribe.
You need a
You
tribe.
need a tribe,
You
man.
In
Need a
all
tribe.
honesty, so I have a client. Her name is Norma. She is one of the owners of Getting Faded. I do her brows.
Okay.
And she, in all honesty, when I was going through the process, she was months ahead of me. So she was actually a huge help to me.
Yes.
She was like, "Oh no, you get your plans through."
That sounds familiar. Does she do hair?
Norma, no, I don't think she does.
Okay.
I know she was. I know they own the barbershop. I think they own a couple.
Okay.
Maybe one in Westchester, I believe, and then one in Inglewood.
Oh, you're gonna have to connect me with her.
Yeah, I'll connect you with her. But she wasn't part of my tribe.
Yes.
She helped me. You know, I didn't even know her. I just did her eyebrows and we got to talking and find out, you know, she's an Inglewood resident, she's an Inglewood business owner.
Yeah.
And so a committee, like I said, just that one person helped.
Yes.
You know, so having people on a committee like that where, you know, we can
it's important.
Share information.
Yes.
It's important.
Especially the resources they have, where the liaison can look for federal government funding to find out what are the resources we can use for women-owned business, veteran-owned business, people of color, whether it's African American, Mexican American, you know, there's different types of resources and funding out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm excited about learning more about these grants out there.
Yeah.
But you know what? I want to go piggyback on your business. So now that, you know, the business is, you know, definitely, you know, official and working out, and you're teaching the younger generation and just women in general or men how to do your business. So can you explain your business to the viewers so they can kind of understand?
Yeah. So I do cosmetic tattooing, which is basically microblading, ombre brows. I do lip blushing. I even do scalp micropigmentation.
Yes.
For those that are thinning or men that are balding, like hairline receding.
Yes.
And so, you know, coming from teaching, it was like a whole different world to me, right? And I never went in thinking that I was going to teach, right? I never really thought that I would teach, but I'm a teacher at heart. You know, I was a teacher for 24 years. So I'm always explaining stuff that like in a way that a teacher would. And so I guess I felt like, you know, it was calling to me. I started getting messages from women like, "Oh my God, your work is really beautiful. Do you teach?" And you know, at first I'd, you know, message, "No, you know, I'm not teaching." And there are rules, you know, to teaching. You have to have 500 verified insurance procedures done to actually be insured to insure your students as well. So I wasn't at that point yet, and people are already asking me. But of course, my mind starts going, "Well, why can't I? I'm a teacher," right? So I initially, you know, the initial business model was, you know, just get in there and do some tattooing. And then it evolved into, you know, I can really affect my community if I offer classes. And because honestly, this my life did a 180. I mean, I went from being a struggling teacher, doing, you know, freelance photography on the side to pay my bills.
Yes.
You know, when I need to give my children anything extra than a roof over there and food on, you know, on the plate, I had to have a second job to do that, you know? So to be able to change my life this way, I mean, man, my stress level went down. You know, they say,
what a blessing.
Money don't buy happiness, but you know what? It buys a lot less stress.
Yes, it does.
And less stress is happiness.
Because being broke can't make you happy either. It can't make you happy.
Exactly.
What did people say? I prefer to cry in a Bentley than cry on a bus.
Exactly. Exactly. But it changed my life so, and the quality of my life too, not just like money. There's this famous quote, and it's Jay-Z, and I'm a big Jay-Z fan. And I have a dice on my table in my studio. And it reminds me, because there's this saying, and it says, "I roll the dice just trying to get some change." And I don't mean like money. That seems like the change. I want to make some money. Okay, everybody wants money. We all need money, right? But real change in your life?
Yeah, throwing the dice for making
real change. I want to change my life. I want to not rush out the house with my children every morning at 6 in the morning. You know what I mean? And then not come home till 12 hours later. I don't want to do that anymore. And if I do have to do it, I want it to be for me.
Yes, exactly.
For my business, for my future, for my kids' future, you know? So that change really empowered me to want to offer this to other women and other men. You know what I mean? Other people. And showing people that, I did this in my 40s. You know what I mean? I changed careers in my 40s. Like,
yes.
And so anybody can do it. You know what I mean? Anybody can make a turn and pivot and apply themselves. And so, if I could change, a few lives every month, you know what I mean? By really teaching them. And then my program mentors, which I offer 100-hour in-studio mentorship for my students, because after you get licensed, like, where do you go? Where do you work? Do you go to the city and apply for a permit and a health department, facility license and wait 8 months to work again? How does one do that, right?
Yes.
So I give my students the opportunity to work in the studio. They can come in. I insure them.
Yes.
I observe them.
Wraparound services is what you're providing.
Yeah.
Them.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful.
And so they come in and they can work in an environment where they have someone like myself who's seasoned, maybe one other artist who is seasoned, and then other students who are on various, places in their career change, and that's supportive. Yes. Then all of a sudden I hear like their friends on social media and they're like pumping each other up. So it's a real community.
Yes.
And I offer all of my services at a rate that you will not find most other places in LA.
Well, I want to thank you for giving Inglewood an opportunity to not be able to drive far away to Riverside to do the work that you're providing and the services that you're providing. Because I know that people last year were driving to Riverside, Corona, and far away places to get certified. So I want to thank you for that. But before we end, I want you to share with the viewers, how can they reach you? Through your website, through IG, through Facebook,
Okay, so you guys can reach me. My Instagram is brodriguezpmu. That's where you can see like a lot of before and afters of my work. My specialty is definitely natural looking results. That's like my thing. I don't have a signature, look. It's just mostly what does that person need. You can also visit my website at maderabeautygroup.com. There's more information there about my courses. Or you can just, email me at brodriguezpmu@gmail. I really hope, I'm honestly, like, for those of you that are watching and are residents of Inglewood, I have a lot of clientele that are, so I'm going to be sharing this with them. I ask that you please support Reina for mayor. It is really time that we have a voice for the people in our community. So I support her fully. I mean, the first time I met her, I was like, this is my people. You know what I mean? I'm like, we're speaking the same language. And so I wish you all the best. I tell everybody that will listen, I got, when somebody signs on their waiver that they live in Inglewood, I'm like, so who you voting for? And I encourage them and I tell them about you, because a lot of the time, if they are also, living here and here, they are one of us.
Yes,
we are cut from the same cloth.
Yes,
you know what I mean. And we want to see the people who don't have a voice or could be impacted by the gentrification happening in our city.
Agreed.
They need a voice.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I feel like you're that voice.
Oh,
and I'm so grateful for you for running and putting your neck out there, girl.
Yes. That's a lot of neck putting out there.
And honestly too, I want to just real quickly touch on what you said about going into a forum where you were the only brown person and it was all Black, individuals there. I mean, it's time for that. Yes. It's time for that. I do stand-up comedy and I do it in a predominantly Black club.
Yes.
And I've never gotten anything but warmth and just like, inclusion. Mm-hmm. And so that is the foundation of Inglewood. We are predominantly a Black brown community.
Yes.
And as far as I'm concerned, there's no revolution without Black brown unity.
Yes.
And so I think you're the perfect person to kind of
push it together.
Yeah,
Yes.
you know what I
Yes.
mean? Bring it together
Yes.
because you grew up in the community.
Yes.
And if you grow up in Inglewood, you know you're good with Black folks.
Oh yeah, of
Let's
course.
be real.
course.
So
Straight up and go.
so I think you're that great, that great place,
Yes.
that we need right now. That you could reach
I
this
agree.
group of people, and you can appeal to this group of people, and your voice is a real. It will resonate with people that are from our community.
Thank you,
So,
Bernadette. You blessed me today on my own show. So you know what? It's going to be a little change today. So this is Raina Creel, your next mayor of Inglewood,
Yes.
signing out on Purpose and Passion with Lux Media Studios. Until then, have a blessed day.
Glutathione is a big word. It's the body's own master antioxidant. It's a scavenger for free radicals, bacteria, and viruses. There are no products in the market with the ingredient NACET. NACET increases the production of glutathione that's in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system, elevate sense of well-being, support muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, and liver support. It helps with increased energy and blood sugar regulation. Get your bottle of GSH Plus from www.salvationnutra.com.